Hello everybody, welcome to Collective Investments. Today, let's discuss again regarding stock-backed loan and box, whether you can do the loan with or without box. So let's first look at what is stock-backed loan in more details. So there's a similar concept. We all know that mortgage. So after you own a house, you can use your house as a collateral, and you can borrow money from bank or from some other loaner. And then after you have the mortgage, every month you need to pay back some principal and the interest on existing principal. And finally, after 15 years or 20 years, 30 years, you pay back the whole mortgage. But if for some reason you cannot pay the monthly payment, then the lender, usually a bank, could grab your house and sell it so that they don't lose money on the mortgage. Unless the house price drops significantly, they will be fine. So for stock-backed loan, it is similar to mortgage in some ways. Now you use your stock as collateral instead of your house, and you still borrow money. You borrow money from your broker, and you need to pay back the interest. Or many brokers do not require the interest to be paid back, but instead they compound the interest, which I will explain shortly. So after you borrow money with stock-backed loan, some brokers do not allow you to buy more stocks with the borrowed money. If you buy stocks with borrowed money, it's called buy on margin, and they could charge a much higher interest rate on the money. But some other brokers, they don't care. So you can get the money, use stock as collateral, and you can use the money to do anything you want. And different from the house, if your stock price drops by too much, it's very close to the amount of the money you have borrowed, then the broker who has lended you the money would have a risk of losing money. So therefore, they could either issue a margin call, ask you to deposit more money into your account, or they could sell your stock to pay back some of their loan. So one of the two ways, depend on the broker. Some brokers give you a grace period to get money. Some brokers, they just sell your stock. It's called forced liquidation, which is very bad. And for stock-backed loan, many brokers offer it, and they use different names. So I searched 4 or 5 brokers. Every single one has a different name. Some of them called collateral loan or line of credit and so on. But I use interactive brokers, and it's just called margin loan. It's the same loan as you buy on margin. So interactive brokers, they don't care how you want to use the money borrowed. So now let's look at the interest compound with an example. So assume to start with, you have $1 million of stock. You have 10,000 shares of some stock, which is $100 a share. So now you want to borrow 10% of it, which is 100,000. And let's assume the interest rate is 3.65. This is for easy of calculation. It's lower than today's government rate, so it's too low, but we just use it as an example. So after you borrow the money, then your account has a cash balance of negative 100K because the cash was zero. Now minus 100K, it becomes negative. And every year, they would charge an interest of $3,650. Why? Because 100,000 times 3.65% is 3,650. And divided by the number of days in a year, 365, you get daily interest $10 for each calendar day, including weekends or holidays. So this means in the first month, you can find out that your cash balance changes by $10 every day. So you start with $100,000. The second day, it becomes $100,010. And the third day becomes $100,020, and so on. At the end of this month, you already get $100,300. So this is your total negative amount of the cash. And starting from the second month, they will start charging interest based on the new cash balance, which is $100,000 and $300. So now you can calculate based on the same interest rate. You can find out the interest per day is already 3 cents more than before. And this can be calculated using the interest rate. So at the end of the month, your balance would be $100,000 and $609. So this is $9 more than the first month's interest. So this is because you have a bigger balance to start with. So that's interest compounding. And similarly, for the third month, your interest is even more. It's 3.1 cents more than the previous month. And if you keep doing this, you can find out after a year, your actual interest payout is about 3.71%. And you can calculate this with a simple formula. So the interest rate, we are using 3.65%, but actually it's a floating rate. Depends on the so-called prime rate. It goes up and down. And that prime rate is often much higher than the treasury rate. So this is how the stock-backed loan work. As long as your balance is not too high, you never need to pay back your interest, at least for many brokers. But your interest will compound if you don't pay them back. Okay, so now let's talk about Box. So when you borrow money using Box, what does it mean? Let's look at this example. When you place a short box spread trade, it will bring more cash into your account, but this is with an expense. So for example, if you sell a 1-year short box spread with a 1030 strike distance, for example, the strike price of the call and put is from 5,000 to 6,030. So this means the size of the box is $103,000. So this is how much you need to pay back when the box expires. And that means this box spread worth negative $103,000. But after you sell the box spread, you get 100,000 cash now. And you get $100,000 cash. You pay back 3,000 more. So this trade is guaranteed to lose $3,000. And it's a capital loss for you. Effectively, it's an interest rate. So you pay $3,000, you get $100,000. So the effective interest rate is 3% in this example. And you will notice that all interests are prepaid. So at the time you place the short box spread, you already paid all the interest until the day it expires. After you sell a box, the account breakdown is like this table. So in your account, you still have 100,000 shares of $100 per share stock, which is $1 million. And now you have a short box spread, which is worth negative $103,000 and cash $100,000. So if you add the total value of your account, which is called NLV or net liquidation value, you can find out that you are already $3,000 short. This is because you already prepaid the interest. So the only purpose of Box is to create cash in your account with some expense. And in order for you to borrow money from your account, you still need the long stock and the collateral. So effectively, you are still using a stock-backed loan. Box is a different way to give you cash. And the interest rate or capital loss that Box give you is often much lower than the interest rate your broker charges for the stock-backed loan. So now let's compare the two cases. You do a stock-backed loan with or without Box after you borrow $100,000. So let's look at the table on the top first. In your account, you still have long stock, which is 10,000 shares, and it's worth $1 million. And for your cash, before you loan the money, your cash is zero. But after you loan it, your cash becomes negative 100K. And your NRV before you loan the money was $1 million. Now it's 900K because the cash is 100K. You only have 900K left. So this is a regular stock-backed loan without box. Now let's look at the second table, stock-backed loan with box. So you still have the same kind of long stock, which is 10,000 shares and $100 per share. So that's $1 million. And you have placed a short box spread, which worth 103K negative. Remember, the short box spread always worth negative because it has brought in 100K cash. So before the loan, your account is already $3,000 less than the other way. And now, when you borrow money, you use stock banked loan. You withdraw $100,000. Your cash becomes zero. And your total account value is 897K. But because your cash balance is not negative, your broker won't charge you interest. You are not borrowing money from your broker. So that's why I often said borrowing with a box, but actually you are not. You are still borrowing using stock-backed loan, except you are using the cash created by box so that you no longer need to pay the much higher interest rate of your broker. Okay, so now let's have the summary of stock-backed loan without or with box. So the regular method is you do the stock-backed loan without box. So you pay interest to your stockbroker, which is often higher interest, and the interest compound monthly. But if you loan with your box, then you do not pay any interest to stockbroker because your cash balance is positive or zero. And there's no monthly compound, but you do have to prepay all the interest, which actually is capital loss, before you even start using the money. And another benefit of box is that its interest rate is often much lower. It's usually treasury rate plus 0.3 to 0.5%. Okay, so today we have compared the two ways to do stock-backed loan, to borrow money from your stock account with and without box. That's all for today. Thank you.